Can a code editor make you a 10x engineer? Well, Cursor, the AI code editor, is making the rounds on the internet. Tweets, subreddits, blogs, everyone is talking about it, claiming how it has turned them into some sort of a coding superhero overnight. I want to see if this is just another overhyped product, or does this really skyrocket your productivity as a developer? I tested it to build a full stack application. I tested it to analyze dataset, build dashboards, review commits, to build a front end using an image, to add comments, documentation, test cases, to understand an entire open source project, and to assess whether it can help me contribute to that project. Besides all of these features, I also compared it with the other coding assistants, evaluating the prices, and also thought about what other types of use cases can I use this code editor for. Let me walk you through what I have found, and please note that this is not a sponsored video. This is all my experience. I've been using this editor for last 3 months. Now, it is very easy to start working with Cursor. You simply have to download it from their website. And since Cursor is actually a fork of VS Code, there's literally no learning curve when it comes to using the editor. The two most important features that you should know is the AI-powered chat and inline chat. You can select the LLM that you want to use. You can upload images in the terminal chat. You can hit Command plus Enter, which will add your entire code base in context. And you can further ask questions on top of it, which is amazing. So how quickly can one develop a full stack application today? Get it up and running. I started building this application where I wanted to showcase all the ML case studies out of a database, where I use this CSV file as my database. Cursor offers this inline chat feature. So you can hit Command plus K and this input widget pops up within your file that allows you to add instructions and prompt the model for your own use cases. The most amazing thing is how easy it is to attach entire files to the context of your prompt. I added the entire CSV file as the database, for which the API had to be created. So I had to create backend. I developed a fast API application, which will serve as my backend, and a React frontend for this full stack application. Now, note that I do not know much about React. It's been a while since I coded frontend. Let's see how Cursor performs in this. You can also upload schema, images of schema, to write SQL queries to extract data. I started building an API with multiple endpoints for different use cases. And it did a great job of generating the code following the best practices to define endpoints. If there are any errors, Cursor makes debugging very easy. Unlike copying the entire code in ChatGPT and then toggling tabs, you can simply use the add to chat or debug with AI buttons that will pull the entire traceback of the error into the chat. It will give you the steps on how to resolve that error. My API started running in under a minute. After backend, I had to set up the front end, and as I've told you, it's been a while since I coded in JavaScript. So I asked Cursor in their terminal chat what I wanted. It returned all the steps, and all I had to do was follow them step by step. I just clicked and it runs the bash command. It installs all the dependencies. Click and the code gets added to your files. Keep doing it for all the components. Run your app, debug for issues by adding errors in the chat, make the suggested changes, and your front end also starts running. Now, this took me some time as I had to resolve and debug a bunch of issues with the app, but I was able to run this entire application within 20 minutes, which could easily be a couple of hours without using AI, without using this sort of support. Further, I wanted to improve the UI, and I knew a website that I wanted my app to look like. So I took a screenshot of that website, uploaded it in the chat, and asked Claude to update the front end to look like the website in that screenshot. And here you go. I'm quite impressed with the results here. You can just keep shipping features within minutes now. For all the data analysts and data scientists out there, Cursor has a lot to offer for you as well. I picked up a marketing campaign dataset. I opened up an IPython notebook, started a Jupyter server, added the instructions to analyze this data. And obviously, I attached the data file in my chat to provide it as context. Cursor did not only help me in analyzing the data, but it generated the code in the form of IPython cells. So all I had to do was simply click on this button, run as cell. It would add this entire code snippet as a cell to my notebook. Mind blowing. I tried adding markdown cells for documentation in between these code cells, but Cursor doesn't differentiate between these cells. So the markdown cells were also inserted as Python cells. So for now, you will have to turn these cells into markdown yourself. Taking it a step further, Jupyter notebooks are not for presenting. We all know that. I asked Cursor to turn this notebook into a Streamlit dashboard and see what it did. A full-blown dashboard with side panel, filters, visualizations, complete analysis. Who needs a slide deck when you can give people an interactive dashboard to play around with? Amazing. Obviously, since the underlying model is Claude 3.5 Sonnet, you can very easily achieve usual software engineering tasks like testing the code with unit tests. I tested my API endpoints. It wrote test cases for each endpoint. You can ask Cursor to document your code, add inline comments, or add doc strings to your functions. You can also interpret and review your code. Now, Cursor provides reviewing capabilities. If you have a Git repository in your workspace, you can ask to review the working state of a project or to review the diff from the main branch for a pull request, or you can review a commit. I asked Cursor to review a particular commit in my GitHub repo, and it searched through all the referenced files in the commit and highlighted the issues in that commit. Again, this saves a lot of time. Test passed with flying colors. Yes. Another use case I wanted to evaluate was how helpful Cursor is when somebody wants to contribute to an open source project. Because that is something which has very high barriers to entry, especially if the project is difficult and has a large code base. Understanding how the project works can take weeks without AI. But with Cursor in the picture, I cloned this open source RAG framework. It's called Cognita. I asked Cursor to explain the entire code base to me, and obviously it did great. Now I can simply pick the issue, I can add it to the chat, design the solution for that issue, and start contributing to the projects that I understand and the projects that I really want to contribute to. Obviously, I'll share more once I myself have got a few PRs merged. But I most certainly believe that contributing to open source should be way easier now with the code editors like Cursor and capabilities of models like Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Now, while I was testing this editor for all the different tasks, I started thinking about how this changes the game for aspiring engineers, aspiring data analysts, aspiring data scientists. I've been teaching, these folks for quite some time now. And with AI into the picture and with tools specifically like Cursor, this changes the whole game because the complexity of the projects are going to rise. And simple projects like end-to-end projects, generating dummy data set, putting them on Kaggle, getting a gold or silver badge for it, or carrying out an analysis or a dashboard for a data set is not going to cut it anymore. Everybody knows the state of affairs in AI and what you can achieve with AI. So you have to be more creative. And at the same time, you have to be very strong with your basics. Your foundations need to be stronger than ever. I learned React back in 2018 or 19. I have not coded it for 5-6 years. And today I could resolve those issues with my application because I knew how code is written in JS, how to import different components into app.js, into index.js. Had I not known all those basics, I would not be able to make the most out of this code editor. So it's not just the editor, it's not just the tool. You still have to be good at your basics. You need to have a strong foundation. That's when you will make yourself capable to use and to get the most out of such developer tools. Now, where does it stand when compared to other AI-powered code assistants? The most advanced code assistant that we all were aware of was GitHub Copilot. And I've seen this question from many people. What is the difference between Cursor and GitHub Copilot? And wouldn't installing GitHub Copilot as an extension in VS Code solve the problem? Now, the analogy that I've used to explain this is Apple versus other Android phone companies. Just like Apple provides a seamless ecosystem, Cursor also provides a very rich integrated experience. You know how people buy iPhones because they have other Apple devices like MacBook or iPad? Cursor is similar. Now, we all were using VS Code already. So they built a standalone IDE on top of VS Code itself with a much tighter AI integration that allows us to use AI in between coding lines, debug easily throughout your code base. You can manually select files to add context. And on top of this, the intelligent code suggestions. So they developed Cursor Tab, which was previously called Copilot++. It's basically an enhanced version of GitHub Copilot. All they've done is their model is trained on sequences of small diffs. And it can see the edits that you have made in the last few minutes at inference time. So the model feels much smarter. And Cursor Tab is also given the ability to actually edit your code. A single tab can get you to exactly where you want to be. And from the blogs and the videos that I've seen so far, there's only one single coding assistant that comes close to Cursor. That's called SourceGraph Cody. And that too because of the ease that it offers while working with large code bases and the extensive contextual awareness that it has. I won't be able to say more here because I've not used these assistants myself. So once I've done that, I will make a much more detailed review video comparing it with other extensions. All right, let's talk about pricing now. You can use your own Anthropic or OpenAI API keys. But if you are a regular coder, you would be using Cursor for your daily tasks. I would not recommend using your own API keys because the cost that you would incur would be much higher than if you bought Cursor's subscription. The Cursor subscription comes at $20 per month if you are paying monthly, and $16 if you're paying annually, buying a yearly subscription. I personally have a yearly subscription. You should first try it out using the free version. You'll get a sense of how much you can achieve using the editor, how useful it is for your use cases, and do let me know in the comments how you're using the editor, what all different types of applications you are building, what use cases you are using it for. And once you have done that, you'll be able to find a more concrete answer whether to invest in this tool or not. As per my recommendation goes, I would say do that. And that's it. So these are very interesting times, and products like Cursor do raise the bar. The distance between your imagination and reality is getting shorter and shorter with tools like Cursor. I will continue to share more on the use cases, the type of projects and applications that you can build with Cursor. Make sure that you are subscribed. Like the video if you found this useful. Share it with your programmer friends. Share your experience in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep learning and keep building with AI.